Good morning and welcome to our webinar on managing your online business reputation. And a special welcome and thank you to our panelist today, Melanie McGovern, Communications Director for the Better Business Bureau of Upstate New York. I'm your moderator, Renee Goodnow, Social Media Specialist for the New York Small Business Development Center. A quick note about the New York SBDC before we get started. We are a network of 22 campus-based centers and satellite offices across New York State. We provide free business advising and free and low-cost training in person and online to all New York State residents. Our services are made possible by the U.S. Small Business Administration, the State of New York, and our host campuses. If you have any questions during the webinar, please don't hesitate to type them in your chat box, and we'll answer them as they come in. And with that, I will turn controls over to you, Melanie.
Great. Thank you so much, Renee. I'm so excited to be here today. We give this presentation quite often, usually to Chamber of Commerce members and our BBB accredited businesses. So we're really excited to get in front of a new audience to all the wonderful Small Business Development Center clients in New York State. So with that, I'm just going to get started. As Renee said, everyone is on mute. And we're going to take questions during the presentation. So up on your screen is what the question box looks like. So if you just type your question in, especially if it's something that I'm talking about, if you need clarification, if you have an example, we always love that story sharing because that's how people learn and grow by talking about those types of things. So, let us know, type it in the question box. Renee will jump on and ask the question, and then we'll go from there. There's your question box. All right, so there's me. I am the communications director for Better Business Bureau of Upstate New York. I handle all of our digital marketing, traditional media. So if you've seen me on television, that's because I'm the organization's spokesperson. I manage our community partner program, which is our partnerships with the small business development centers, the SBA, and the wonderful chambers of commerce across the state, and also builders exchanges, statewide organizations, things like that. So we partner with these organizations to reach a broader audience with our Better Business Bureau information. I've been doing this, I'm 5.5 years in. I've been doing continuing education, extensive research, working directly with our accredited businesses, working directly with Google, who's a partner of ours, on online reputation management. Like I said, every time we give this presentation, it changes. There's new things to learn. There's different things to talk about. So since we've been giving it, it has changed quite a bit. So I think what we have right now is the best available information as of today, because we just gave this presentation last week. Just real quick, we're going to go over the goals. We're going to talk about enhancing your online presence, managing your customer reviews with confidence, and building trust in your business. That's something that a lot of businesses really don't think about, but it's super important. This is us. We are the Better Business Bureau of Upstate New York. There is a BBB serving metropolitan New York. They are located in New York City, and they have offices in Westchester and on Long Island. We have one office in Buffalo, but that doesn't mean we don't take care of everybody. I travel extensively across upstate New York to visit our chamber partners and our businesses and to attend presentations. So there's always something going on. I will be there no matter where it is. What people know us for the most is the complaint filing. People, I'm going to go to the Better Business Bureau, I'm angry. We act as the neutral third party between businesses and consumers to solve those consumer complaints. Or if they can't be resolved through our process, we also offer arbitration for our businesses to solve those complaints. We also have customer reviews. That's become very, very popular. We actually have a whole segment on customer reviews in this presentation. So those are the two things. And when people come to our website, number one, they're searching for businesses they can trust. They're searching for those accredited businesses, or they're looking to file a complaint, or they want to leave a customer review. We do have a lot of other services. I'm just going to briefly go over a few of them. We have an advertising review. So if you see a website that seems like they're making outlandish claims about their product or service, If you see someone saying they're the best in Western New York, they're the best in Rochester, award-winning service, we would reach out to them and say, "What award did you win?" So we like to keep the advertising fair. We have an advertising review person on our staff who goes over all that stuff. We have our scam tracker tool. I encourage everybody after the presentation to go over to bbb.org and take a look at the scam tracker. It's at the top of the page. You click on the button that says scam tracker. It shows you the scams that are trending in your area. Every scam is confirmed before it's published. What we find a lot of times is that the scams are legitimate scams. I know that sounds weird to say, but sometimes they're complaints against companies if people don't get that instant gratification of filing the complaint. The complaint process usually takes about 30 days. They'll file a scam tracker, so we reach out to them and tell them to file a complaint. But it's just really interesting to see what's going on. And the good thing is what we're finding is a lot of people aren't falling for the scams anymore. So it's just more of a warning tool now than a victim tool. So it's really interesting. I encourage everybody to take a look at it. We have an investigator on our staff, so we investigate substandard business practices, substandard marketplace activities. If we see what we call a pattern of complaints, if a business, if we get 3, 4, 5 people emailing us, calling us saying, "Oh, I have this, I paid this person and they never showed up," and it's similar, then the investigator would step in and start taking a look. We have a charity review program. Charities are accredited as businesses are accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Charities have more standards and they do not pay for their charity accreditation. It's just a really good way for charities to show their transparency, to show their fundraising, to show what they're using the money for, and just to show how they support their communities. And again, real brief, we talked about it, but our dispute resolution services is what most people know us for. But today we're going to talk about reputation management. It's something that a lot of small businesses don't think they need until they really need it, or they have somebody else working on it. But it's always really good for any small business owner to be aware of what's going on online and what's going on in real life. I love this quote. I've been using this quote for a really long time because it holds so true. It takes 20 years to build your reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. And as we get into the presentation, we'll talk about that, the responding to complaints, the responding to customer reviews, engaging online, the do's, the don'ts, the best practices. So we're going to talk about that coming up. This is a survey by a blog called brightlocal.com. They do a survey on reputation management every year. They do a survey on customer reviews every year. So I'm going to be referring to this a few times just to talk about some of the surveys they've done of small business owners in the United States. 76% of people plan to spend more time on online reputation management in the next 12 months. That's a pretty staggering number because a few years ago, a lot of people just didn't even think about it. They didn't care, or they just, they were so busy running their business, they didn't have time for it. So the fact that 76%, plan to spend more time on it is really terrific. A positive online reputation helps customers trust businesses, convert searches into leads, and could help boost your local search rankings. So, it's always good to have those positive customer reviews, to have those customer testimonials either through your social media or through your website. So, anything you can do to help build that up is, stuff we're going to talk about today. The most difficult reputation management task is identifying and removing fake reviews, with 58% of businesses having received a negative or positive fake review. We ran into this on Monday. Better Business Bureaus from Pittsburgh, Kitchener, Ontario, London, Ontario, us all got 1-star reviews from the same person. And the person's username was user24. I remember this. It was 24642464 because I reported that review because that we didn't. When you file 6 reviews on 6 different Better Business Bureaus in a 6-minute span, that's spam. So it's really good to know how to go about removing those negative reviews. Some places won't. We have a whole different process for reviews, which I'll talk about. And anybody can have reviews on their Better Business Bureau business profile. It's not something that's exclusive to accredited businesses, but we'll get into that. But that's something that, a lot of people find difficulty in. Some people may throw up their hands and say, well, there's nothing I can do about it, but there are things you can do about it. Businesses are being held back from managing their reputation because of time and budget constraints. Again, people are busy running their business. They don't have time. They don't have money to pay somebody and it can get expensive. Website management can get expensive. So that's, one of the things that, people see as an impediment. 44 of the respondents to the Bright Local survey currently use online reputation management software to monitor, generate, or respond to reviews. That's very interesting. A lot of bigger companies do use the software to send, a text message to a customer asking for that positive customer review, or they have an auto response to any email that comes in. um, Sometimes it's good for like big businesses, but in terms of a smaller business, it's probably better just to do it on your own, so you don't have to pay all that money. If you don't get a lot of reviews, if you don't get a lot of activity, it's probably better to just manage it yourself and use some of the tips that we're going to talk about today. So why is this so important? I just highlighted a few of these because they all seem to be pretty even. um, but there's a lot of good things in there. It makes potential customers trust us. So if somebody's reading a bunch of positive reviews about your company, you're saying thank you. It's something that people will look at and say, wow, they really do care. I think I'm going to reach out to them and get a quote or use their website or use their services. It could help convert searches into leads if somebody's searching for whatever type of business you have and they see all of that activity, say on your Google My Business profile or your Better Business Bureau profile. It could become a lead for you. So that's something to always think about. It could boost your rankings in local search results. So what a review is called user-generated content, and we know the internet loves that. So anytime somebody files a review on your website, if you have that technology on your website or on your Google My Business page, they're going to see that. There's a good chance you could appear higher in a local search result. We're not guaranteeing that, but it's always good to just always have that new content, for people to look at. Makes you stand out from competitors. This is something that everybody wants to be the one that shines. So, that's something that, you should think about as you're, working on your website, working on your social media. What makes us stand out from the competitors? Again, generates more clicks and calls, very similar to converting searches into leads, and enhances status in the local community. So if you have a Facebook page and you participated in like a charity walk, or your company did a cleanup day, things like that, people look at and they want to see it. So it could, enhance your status in the local community as, wow, that business really cares. Oh, they sponsored a Little League team, things like that. So those are things to think about as we go through the presentation today. The
Melanie, we
more,
had a quick
yes,
question for you.
sure.
How would someone get in touch with you directly about some of your offerings at the Better Business Bureau?
At the end, I will have a slide up with our contact information. Best way to do it is probably to email me directly.
Perfect. Thank you.
So at the end of the presentation, I will have a slide up with all of our contact info. Um, so yeah, awesome. So biggest thing you want to know before you embark on any kind of reputation management program or plan is, are your customers satisfied with your business? Because we all know the cost to retain a happy customer is less than to find a new one. Satisfied customers are likely to become repeat customers, and they're more likely to recommend your company when people are looking for that type of service. I'm sure we all see on social media, hey, I'm looking for someone to do a concrete job, or hey, I'm looking for a seamstress, or I'm looking for a web developer. And people are making suggestions based on their own experience. So if you have a happy customer and they see something, they're going to probably recommend you or say, hey, I used this company and they were wonderful. Um, of course, every time I see that online, I run through every single business. I look them up through the BBB's website, and then I send a private message to my friend and say, okay, all of these businesses are accredited, so choose whoever you want, or this person has an A+ rating, just so they know that the business is trustworthy. I'm just going to run through a couple of really interesting stats because every time I give this presentation in person, people are sitting there telling me that they don't need a website, they don't need social media, I don't do Facebook, my business is all word of mouth, I don't need any of this stuff. Well, 4.2 billion people use the internet. 92% of consumers read online reviews. That number has jumped significantly in the past few years, and we're going to talk more about customer reviews in a minute. But those businesses who don't have a Facebook page, oh my God, 2.3 billion people use Facebook every month, and they could be searching for a business like yours. So I encourage everybody, if you don't have one, after we're done with the call, go set one up because it's really, really beneficial for your business. On average, a consumer will look at over 10 information sources before making a purchase. That could be anything from a Google review to websites to Better Business Bureau to Facebook, other social media sites. There are review sites out there that people aren't even aware of. They're going to look at, one business, they're going to look at another. So it's a minimum average of 10 information sources before making a purchase, especially if you deal in high ticket item type things or expensive things. A lot of people are going to take the time and really do that research. So you want to make sure that whatever's out there is accurate. And I'd love this stat, and I'm probably as guilty of it as anybody, but to be fair, it's my job to monitor social media for the Better Business Bureau, but the average time spent on social media is 116 minutes a day. That's 116 minutes per person where you could be reaching people with your message. So it's just, again, when people tell me they don't have a Facebook page or they don't do social media, I'm thinking it's a free tool for you to use. So, definitely want to, take the time to look at that. Again, just after looking at all those stats, your customers are online. Best place to start is your website. On the go to meeting, there should be a hand raise option. I just want to know real quick how many people, I don't know if I'm able to see this, Renee, or if you are. I'd love to see a raise of hands. How many people have updated their website in the last 3 months? Is there a way to do that?
It looks like quite a few,
Excellent.
about 8 or 9.
Awesome. Yeah, because that's a wonderful way. Every time you update your website, if it's content, if it's a photo, Google will they call it re-index your website, so they'll run it through their algorithms, and that can only help you to appear higher in searches. So even if you're just changing some information, if you're changing a photo from summer to fall, things like that, it's really important to update your website. I did this presentation a few years ago, and it was an in-person, and I asked the group, I said, how many people have updated their website recently? And one person didn't raise their hand, and I said, well, when was the last time you updated your website? She said 2009. I'm like, wow, okay. Didn't have a response for that. But again, I mean, just look at the stats. 75% of consumers admit they judge a business's credibility based on their website design. And we're guilty of it here. Whenever we're doing a project and we're looking at some of our company's websites, we're like, oh my God, don't they update this? So you got to remember that, especially if you're not updating your website, you definitely want to jump in there or call your web developer and say, hey, can we sit down and give us a refresh? Since I've been here in 5.5 years, we've had 3 different website refreshes for bbb.org. So even big organizations are constantly updating their websites. And of course, my thing's not advancing. Here we go. Show of hands again. How often do you Google your company? What do we got, Renee? We got a lot or a little?
It looks about a third of the attendees.
Okay. It's really important to do a search of your company, your CEO's name, your name, anybody who's associated with the company in a leadership role. You want to make sure that you're seeing everything that's being said about them out there. I have at least 10 Google alerts for our organization, anything from Better Business Bureau, Better Business Bureau of Upstate New York, Better Business Bureau Buffalo, BBB of Upstate New York. I have my name, I have our president's name. So we're constantly monitoring the internet through a Google search or a Google alert, I'm sorry. And it's a really good way for free to keep track of what people are posting about your business. So it's super easy to set up a Google alert. Um, and again, you can set it to as it happens, once a week, daily. I have Google alerts for some of the industry trends for the Better Business Bureau, so I can keep an eye on scams, imposters, business scams, things like that. So it's a really good tool and it's free. So
Melanie, we do this
yes,
as well, and it's a great way for us to track some nice small business articles that are coming out or see items that are trending in the industry. It's really useful.
yeah, it's free. Um, it's always funny though, whenever I get a Google alert with my name on it, my heart kind of stops a little bit, even though I know it's like a positive interview that we've done. But it's always just good to like monitor that, especially if you do have somebody who does media for you, or if you have been interviewed on TV or radio or for a blog, an article. It's a really good way to capture that coverage. So you have to Google your company because you don't want to see this. I love this graphic. And that's what we find. A lot of companies will say, I have this terrible review and I don't know where it came from. And it's because you got to pay attention. You got to know what's being said about your company out there. And again, you can set it up to come every day, once a week, as it happens, but you definitely want to have that tool set up so you know, and it'll crawl the review sites as well. I'm just going to go through the quick 10 ways. I know we talked a lot about them. We have coming up, and as a Better Business Bureau, we offer our webinars to everybody. So I can send Renee the information. We have a deep dive social media webinar coming up in December with some experts on our staff to talk about social media. So if anybody's interested in that, we can get you that information. But you definitely want to keep your social media up to date. When I was looking to hire, I can't remember what it was for our house. And it was, what was it? Was it our plumber? It was we were hiring somebody for our house, and I went to look at social media for a couple of the companies that I had pulled off of bbb.org, and I noticed one of them hadn't posted anything since 2013, and I'm like, well, that's this other company's like posting all these pictures of before and after jobs. So those are things that, people are looking for on social media. So you definitely want to keep that updated. You want to engage with customers and potential customers. The best way to do that is, again, through social media, your website, networking events, things like that, in person, not just virtual. Um, you want to respond to all reviews, good and bad, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. But we get a lot of businesses who call us and say, I got this terrible review on Google. What should I do? I'm like, you got to respond. So we're going to talk about how to respond to those. There's tons of directories out there, and we're going to go through those in a few seconds. But you want to make sure all of your directory listings are updated. Or if you don't have a listing, you want to put one in. Especially a lot of the directories are free, and it's a great way for you to get found. We just talked about
Melanie,
monitoring. Yes.
sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
What would be the definition of a directory listing?
Any of the yellow pages, the Google My Business. There's a lot of like phone book type directories out there now. You want to make sure that your Google Maps location is correct. Facebook's considered a directory as well. So any of those, if you search your name and you see all these like random websites pop up that are directories, you definitely want to jump in there and edit them. Even if you didn't put your information out there, it's out there. So we're going to go through the directories in a couple of slides. So that's just a really good way to see what's going on. Monitor yourself, we talked about. Um, this one is a big one here. We get a lot of consumers calling us, and they will say, I'm trying to reach this company, but their voicemail's full. I filled out a contact form, but nobody's responded. You've got to be responsive. If you have a contact form on your website, you want to make sure you're checking that. If your voicemail is full, clean it out. You could be losing out on potential customers. So just being in that moment and responding to the contact forms and having an empty voicemail so you can take new voicemails, it's really important. Um, Monitor your website, social media, other places for daily comments or reviews. Like I said, we got that 1-star review If you click on the username, you can see what other reviews they've written. And once I saw Better Business Bureau serving Western Pennsylvania, Better Business Bureau serving, Central Ontario, I'm like, okay, this person's just going through every single Better Business Bureau on the Eastern Seaboard. So we reported it. Become an expert. This one's kind of cool. It might not be for everybody, but everybody watches the news or listens to the news and sees, the reporters talking to an expert in their field on things. Um, there's ways to do that. If you have a blog, if you have a website, there's ways to get your message out there. Definitely through social media, through LinkedIn, because I used to be a reporter. So whenever we were searching for experts, the first place we went was LinkedIn, searched an industry, and then we pulled up a bunch of people and we saw what they were posting on social media. And we're like, oh, that person's an expert. We should reach out to them. So that's always something, if you have the time to do it, it's a really good thing to do. If you have friends on Facebook, as everybody does, and they're asking questions that are related to your industry, always good to answer those questions publicly. Like, hey, I see you're having a problem with this. Well, my company does this, this, and that. And to help you, we can do blah, 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 blah. So that's always really good to do as well. Again, we talked about it, get involved with the community, and think before acting. That one we'll talk about a couple of times coming up here, but always, always, always think before you respond. Somebody asked about directories. Whether you put it there or not, your business is listed on several directories. These are the 5 that you should be on. Definitely Google My Business. We also have BBB is a Google Business partner. In December, we have a webinar with an expert from Google on Google My Business, and I will get that information to Renee to send to everybody. It's a really, really, really good presentation. It's very interactive. She shows everybody a live demo of how to update their profile. So I will get that info to Renee, and you guys are more than welcome to attend that webinar. It's also free. So it's really good to be a part of that. Google Maps, again, most, was it 90% of searches are done on a mobile device. So if somebody's searching for your business, you definitely want it to pop up on Google Maps. Facebook is one where, again, people are searching for businesses. They're searching to see what they're doing online. Facebook's the best place to do that. Yelp is another directory that people should make sure that their information is updated, and if they have reviews, that they should be responding to those reviews on Yelp. And the other one is BBB. We have over 60,000 business profiles for upstate New York companies. People search us all the time, so it's really good. Even if you aren't an accredited business, it's free to have a profile on bbb.org, and I can get that information to everybody as well on how to do that. So you don't have to apply for accreditation, but you can have a profile. Just going to talk real quick about how important it is to be on social media. 74% of users are on Facebook every day. They're on Snapchat, 63%. I do Snapchat very randomly, but a lot of the younger customers that people are always talking about, we got to attract the millennials. If Snapchat's not your thing, I would definitely do Instagram instead. 60% of, excuse me, of those surveyed here were on Instagram, 60% a day. YouTube is also huge. So I would, out of these all, I would definitely Facebook, Instagram. You can connect the 2 profiles. So again, like when we do our social media webinar, and I don't know if Renee probably has more information on that, being a social media expert, you can connect the profiles and just post on one and it automatically goes to the other. But this is just to really show the importance of social media, to be present there, to be active there, not only personally, but professionally. If you have a page, to make sure you're updating it, that you're sharing it to your personal page, that your friends are sharing it as well. 74% is a really high number, 60% is a really high number. 10% less often, 10%, it's where you need to be. Quickly, we're going to go through reviews. Why do people read reviews? It's funny, when we started doing reviews back in 2015, there were a lot of people in the BBB system were like, oh, we don't need this, we've got the complaints. But not everybody's coming to us to complain. Sometimes people want to come to BBB to say, I had a really good experience with this company. So we started offering the reviews because of these 5 things. It's valuable guidance. It's real people using a product or service. It attests to a company's reliability. So if you get that negative review and you respond, "I'm so sorry, give us a call, we'll try to make this right." That's what people are looking for. It indicates the best and worst scenario, and it gives customers insight about product and quality. I'm one of those people that I won't buy anything online unless it has at least 2 reviews, especially clothes, because I'm super short. So I want to know if it's a petite, if it's really that size. So that's what people, these are why people read reviews. They want to know about the product before they buy it, or they want to know about the service before they hire it. They want to know about the person. You never want to read something like, "Boy, the person at the front counter was a real jerk." You don't want to read that. So, these are what people will write. So you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. It's kind of small, but this is, again, when we're talking about customer reviews, why do people trust them? 86% of consumers read reviews for local businesses, including 95% of people age 18 to 34 will read reviews for local businesses. Consumers read an average of 10 online reviews before they feel like they're able to trust a local business. So, we talked about the 10 sources before they buy. There's 10 reviews before they trust. 40% of consumers only take into account reviews written within the past 2 weeks. I've had companies come to me and they're like, "I have this terrible review from 3 years ago, and it's the only review I have." And I always tell them, I go, "Well, first and foremost, go find your happy customers and ask them to file a review. Second of all, people don't care what happened 3 years ago. We only report on businesses activity for 3 years. So if you had a complaint in 2016 on September 24th, as of today, September 25th, 2019, that complaint's no longer on your BBB business profile. So, people don't really pay attention to the old reviews. They want to see what's been going on in the last 2 weeks. So again, one of the biggest things we tell our businesses is ask for those positive customer reviews, ask for those experiences, make sure you're putting your best foot forward when you ask for that review, so that the person is more likely to write that review. Because I think that's where the biggest disconnect is. And if you want to weigh in about an experience, asking for a review, sometimes it can be tough, and or maybe the person won't do it right away. So it's always good to just keep at it, and you'll get those positive customer reviews. 57% of consumers will only use a business if it has 4 or more stars. Again, this just shows how important it is to ask those customers for those reviews. 80% of 18 to 34-year-olds have written an online review, compared to just 41% of consumers over 55. Now, I always use my in-laws as an example here. I feel like unless they've been dazzled, they're not going to take the time to walk over to the computer or pull out their phone to file the review. So when you're dealing with like an older crowd, you really want to make sure that you're nurturing that relationship and asking them for that review. 91% of 18 to 34-year-old consumers trust online reviews as much as a personal recommendation. So that's really interesting because, again, I'm in my mid 40s and I like the personal recommendations, but I also check other sources. They're just trusting the online reviews. They're not asking people, "Hey, what do you think?" So, again, it's really important to get those reviews, get them posted to Google My Business, Facebook, BBB. There's so many different places to have them. 89% of consumers read a business's response to reviews. So whenever you get a review, good or bad, BBB always recommends to write a response. "Thank you. Can't wait to have you as a customer again," is the best way to answer a positive review. If you have a negative review, we always recommend taking it offline. We've all heard the stories about businesses that engage, start saying terrible things. It escalates. They try to delete it. People have taken screenshots. People have seen it. That's what they're going to remember if somebody's getting, little like off kilter with a response. The best way to answer a negative review is, "I'm sorry. Give us a call. Shoot us an email. We can talk about the situation and work toward a resolution." It's always the best way to respond to a negative review. We've had people tell me, Oh, I got a negative review on Facebook and I deleted it. Well, you can delete it or you can answer it. And then that's what I said. People, are looking for that response. We all get negative reviews. I mean, if you look at the Better Business Bureau of Upstate New York's Google My Business profile, we have negative reviews, but they're for other businesses. But we responded with, if you have a complaint against this business, please go to bbb.org and file it here. Um, we're not going to sit there and say, this isn't us, you shouldn't have filed this. We're trying to come to a resolution. So when people see that, they're going to say, oh, wow, the BBB, they're really trying to help this consumer get to the right place, or, oh, they responded to that review. It's something that, again, it's easier to respond in a positive way um, than to just let it go, ignore it, or start engaging to the point where you're just gone too far. So it's always good to just say, hey, give us a call, let's make it right. We just talked about using your customers as your marketing team because people are looking for those reviews that are fresh and new. So whenever you're at the end of like the contract or a sale or whatever you're doing, ask them, say, hey, can you jump on Google, write me a review? Can you go to my BBB business profile, write me a review? Can you go over to Facebook and write me a review? People are more likely to do it if you ask them. We had a situation, my husband and I, a few weeks ago. I had a piece of jewelry that broke, and they were kind of looking at me like, what happened here? And then after I left the store, I got a phone call saying, we're going to replace your necklace for free. So I told my husband, I go, jump on, and they sent us a text. I said, here, go file this review. Because he's the customer, not me. So he did. And when I walked in, they're like, oh, we're so grateful for your husband's positive review. So again, happy customers are more likely to write those reviews. They said thank you. They have a customer for life in us. Even though there was a situation where we almost didn't get a resolution, they made it right. So, we as the customers, my husband as the customer, went online and wrote the review. And when I went to pick up the necklace, they said, thank you for the positive review. And if there's anything else you need, let us know. So again, those are the types of things you guys need to do to get those positive reviews. Just do whatever you can within reason. Don't give away the store. But to make a customer happy, because then they're going to say, you know what, I really want to write a review about that company. Always say thank you, even if there's a negative review. Say thank you for your feedback. Thank you for reaching out. Um, if anybody does email marketing, you definitely want to stay in touch with your customers, but you don't want to overload them. I don't know how many people are familiar with the term email fatigue. The other day, I spent 20 minutes just deleting everything in one of my email accounts because I'm like, oh my God, there's 300 messages in here. Um, so if you do have an email list and you're sending stuff out, you just want to make sure that whatever you're sending is something that your customers really want to see. If you're having a big sale, if you're working on a referral program, if you're asking for the testimonials and reviews, those are the types of things that you should be emailing to your customers. We're going to quickly go through some trust marks, the BBB logo. If you have a website, any of these um, different security tags are really good. Um, but a trust mark is a form of communication between a consumer and a business to help bridge the information gap about the trustworthiness of a business. Most of the trust marks are found online. So again, you want to show that your website is secure. There's other types of trust marks, go through real quick. Any kind of professional licensing you have, your Chamber of Commerce memberships, people love that. I'm not just saying that because we work with so many chambers, but I was in Albany and I was walking into an establishment and I saw they had a member of the Guilderland Chamber of Commerce sticker in their window, and I smiled and I was like, that's really cool. They care about their community. So, always look into joining your chamber, or, go to a meeting and see what it's all about. Because again, people really love to see that Chamber of Commerce membership. It's an investment in your community. So yeah, so professional licenses, your testimonials from your real customers. We've had businesses before here that we've had to reach out to and say, all of your reviews are your family. You don't want to do that because people will figure it out. So you definitely want to use your real customers. One of the biggest things that we tell people at BBB when they're looking for companies online is to make sure that company has comprehensive contact information, that you have a phone number, an email address, more than just like an info at, maybe have an info at email and then somebody in your organization who answers emails if it's you, if it's an office manager, just have that good email address. If you have a physical street address, put that in there as well so people know where you're located. If you work out of your home and you don't want that in there, perfectly understandable. Just put the location, the city, the state, and the zip code, things like that. That's what people are looking for, especially, if you have online sales. The biggest thing we see whenever we get a scam tracker report on an online purchase is that there was no contact information, or it was like a random like Gmail or Yahoo email. That's what people are looking for, especially if they're buying online. They're looking for that comprehensive contact information. That's definitely a trust mark that you want to have on your website. And a privacy policy, especially if you collect personal information or payment information. You want to have a privacy policy to say, hey, we're not going to sell your email address to a third party. We're not going to spam you. We're not going to use your email for anything but corresponding about this transaction. Um, so you definitely want to look into a privacy policy if you don't have one and you collect personal information online. So I'm just going to recap real quick, and I'll leave this up as we get ready to take some questions. These are the top things that you need to remember as you're sitting down to do your online reputation management at night, in the morning, whenever you lunch, whenever you have time to do it. Keep your website, social media, and directory listings updated. Manage your message, post awesome content that your customers are going to want to read and share. Ask for reviews. I can't say it enough. Ask for the reviews and testimonials. Treat all reviews the same, positive or negative. Don't forget to respond. Use your professional affiliations as trust marks for your company, and be transparent. That's, number one. Make sure that when you're talking to people, you're open. You're open to talking to them. You're not shutting them out. You're not ignoring them. You definitely want to have that interaction online. Um, to build your reputation, to say, oh wow, they really care about their customer. Look at the extra mile they're going for this person who's annoyed. Those are the types of things that people are looking at. With that, Renee, do we have any more questions?
We don't right now.
Okay,
I don't see
so
any hands up.
this email address goes right to me. So if anybody has any questions about BBB, how to get a profile up on bbb.org, anything about our customer review process, please feel free to shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to work with you guys on anything that you might need.
Sounds good. And I'll put our contact information up in a moment too. One thing I was thinking about when you mentioned the email marketing, on a side note, with making sure you have permissions to email folks, once you reach a certain number, we use constant contact for our email marketing. Once you
Hmm.
reach a certain number, they'll actually call you and they'll
Yep.
go through a set of questions to make sure that they were acquired properly.
Constant Contact's great at that. They really, I mean, because we've had so much spam, like I said, email fatigue. We use a third party for our email, but yeah, they really check. And we actually, years ago, before I started, somebody bought an email list and put it into our constant contact. We were in constant contact jail. Like they wouldn't let us use our account because they couldn't verify how we got those email addresses.
Yeah, they're very serious. We do have a question. Do we need to pay to be part of the Better Business Bureau?
If you want to be an accredited business, there is a fee. That fee pays for things like me to be here today, monitoring, community programming, things like that. If you don't want to be accredited, you don't have to pay to have a listing on bbb.org. And it depends on the size of your company, but you can email me and we can talk about that.
Gotcha. And you just mentioned to put the trust mark on, you do have to be a paid member. That was
Yes.
another question that came in. They
Yes.
also asked, how do you set up your BBB profile?
I can, if they want to shoot me an email, I can get them the forms and information to do that.
Perfect. And we'll also be emailing out the webinar recording. Someone asked about receiving the slide deck as well. Is that something you would be able to send out too?
Yep,
And we had a few more questions come in if you have the time,
I
Melanie.
do. I do.
Okay. A company took an initial business filing from the NYS Business Registry website. It is included my home address, not my business. I've asked them several times to remove this listing with no luck. What can they do?
What's the website?
NYS Business Registry. Let me ask what the website is.
Yeah, that's the hard thing about some of these directories. They're just pulling information. We had a situation with an event website we had an event that was out on our website and they got the event wrong, and unfortunately there was no contact information. So if we could get the name of the website where the information is wrong, I can have somebody on our team look into it.
Okay, they don't know it offhand, but
Okay.
they will get it for you for later.
Okay, yeah, because we've got people on our staff who could look that up, and maybe we could see what we can do on our end.
And I put our contact information here, and you can also follow us on social too. We are on these platforms. You also mentioned something about earlier during the presentation, tools to send information out on multiple platforms, and we use CoSchedule, but
Hmm.
a lot of folks I've talked to also use Hootsuite. So there's a lot of
Yep.
great ones out there, and they're not too pricey depending on your size.
Yeah, and it's easy. Like if you have Instagram, you can connect all of your accounts to your Instagram account. We did that like because when you start a business account on Instagram, it's just every account on Instagram is the same. Um, so we were able to link our LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, I'm sorry, we were able to link our Twitter and our Facebook. So whenever we post something to Instagram, we just slide the bar over and it posts to all of our platforms. So you're not spending all day thinking, okay, what's my message on Twitter versus what's my message on uh, Instagram and Facebook. You can just write one comprehensive message and get a photo in there and push it out on all of the platforms.
Absolutely, there's some great techie tools out there for folks.
Yeah, we use Sprout Social and it's a paid service, but it's really great that because we need to schedule and they actually have a Twitter scheduler. Um, you can't schedule on Twitter on the platform itself, so that's why we use that one, and it allows us to schedule on LinkedIn as well, and all actually all four platforms. And it gives
That's
us
great.
really good data and it shows us like good times to post. And that's in Facebook too. And oh, I could talk hours about social media, but just looking at that, like when are most of your followers online? That's when you need to start hitting them with content. But that's a whole
Absolutely.
other other
Yep.
presentation.
Nope, for sure. For sure. Well, we'll include the link to the upcoming webinars as well in our follow-up email. And then at the end of this, when I shut this down, there'll be a quick survey if you want to answer it to give us some feedback. And we'll also send it in that follow-up email if you don't have a chance to take it today. But I think with that, maybe we'll shut it down unless I don't see any more questions. Melanie, did you have anything else? We have a few thank yous coming in, so thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, just again, the email to get to me is BEMORE, be more at upstatenyBBB.org.
Perfect, and I'll include that too in the follow-up email so
Great.
folks
Yeah,
will
I
have
look
that.
forward to, helping people set up their profiles and any other questions they have that they think of, on the fly. Let me know. That's why I'm here.
Great, absolutely. More thanks and more great sessions, so thanks again.
Great. Thank you so much.